Formula E, born in 2011 when electric vehicles were more associated with toys, milk floats and playthings for the rich. Motor racing purists question the need for an all-electric racing championship. 8 years on, in its 5th season and all grown up, this is the story of how Formula E launched its Generation 2 racing car on a miniature scale, getting closer to the streets than ever before.
What's fun about this is we're doing it with RC cars. All the stuff we would do with cars in full scale, shrunken down, 10th scale.
These cars are the character. They're the main characters in the film. The scale is deceptive. Just because the cameras are small, just because the actual thing we're filming is small, doesn't make the job any less difficult or challenging to do.
Are we gonna make this one or no? How are we looking? Let's make it happen.
Everybody behind the car, behind camera, please.
The thing that I think is interesting about how this sort of connects with Formula E is where they race and how they race. They're doing this in a city, and it's not on a pristine track. And I think that's one of the things we're sort of embracing with the film that we're putting together.
I think one of the key elements of the success of Formula E has been to race in the streets of cities.
Street racing is unique because for me it's a big challenge for the driver every second. The drivers can make the difference, and this is something that we are sometimes losing in motorsport.
When we started this 6 years ago, nobody thought electric cars were going to go anywhere. Today, many governments are coming out with deadlines for combustion cars. So, I think the perception is from 0 to 10. We wanted to create something new. We wanted to create something that didn't exist before. We didn't know so many answers, but nevertheless we went for it, and so many people thought it was going to fail, and it didn't. But in the beginning, we were like a small group of people, all hands on deck. Everyone was doing everything. And it was almost a miracle that the first race happened.
The lights are coming on, and for the first time, we go green in Beijing.
The first 4 seasons were almost like, we were like with our little ship, like discovering, America or something. We were out there, completely new territories and charter waters. We were just kind of learning as we went. Generation 2 is a different question. We know so much now from the first 4 seasons. This is kind of a much more finished product.
When you are looking at the Gen 1, you see a single-seater with the code of a single-seater.
If you look at Generation 2, there's nothing like it. So people will see this and will say, okay, that's a Formula E.
And this is what I like. This is a unique design.
We first saw the pictures, we thought, this is like a Batmobile. I mean, it's incredible. It's so dramatic. It's so, it makes your heart race.
When we started Formula E, we had a challenge. The challenge was that with the technology available at that time, the race cars at a proper racing speed could not last for the whole race. The battery would not last for the whole race. But we always wanted to go from 2 cars per race to 1 car for the whole race. We've managed to do it in 4 years. So now we have a car on Generation 2 that is more powerful, double the range.
One part, of course, that I like is the battery, because this is the thing that you don't see, but it's a huge improvement. Something we have to deal with was the battery temperature. It's very easy to understand when you use a lot your phone, it's getting very hot. So this is something with the new cell we managed to solve and to correct a little bit. So that was the main target.
The increase in power is quite impressive, going from 200 kilowatt last year with the first generation car to 250. That's a big increase when you're talking kilowatts. To do the whole race with 1 car is a huge milestone to see where the technology is developing towards.
So I think that Generation 2 is a huge step forward for Formula E to become probably the future of motorsport, or in a few years, the biggest championship out there. I think definitely Generation 2 gives Formula E its own identity and will be a great tool to capture the fans and to show the fans that electric, is the future.
With the Generation 2 car now a reality, Formula E's next task was to tell the world about it. A film was commissioned that would feature a miniature version of the Gen 2 car, racing the city streets, just like their full-size counterparts.
I mean, I've been making models since I was a kid, basically. I'm Ben Miller. I'm the owner of Miller Models, advertising model makers, or anything makers. I got contacted by a college mate, actually, and he said, we've got this cool project doing a Formula E car. Would you like to be involved? And it sounded like a fun project, so yeah, it kind of went quite quickly from there to being reality. Here we are. The first hurdle was actually getting these CAD files open because they were enormous. Once we got those open, we were able to sort of see the car in a 3D environment and turn it into a usable shell.
I mean, I don't think I've ever had a file as big. It literally had every bolt, every washer, every cable that's on the real thing. So there was an immense amount of data that needed to be sort of stripped back, because obviously we're only interested in the shell of the car itself. And I think a lot of that's a lot of the job is figuring out how you're going to break the model up into chunks that can be processed in a sensible way. And then I think the next biggest issue is obviously that this chassis is not made to work with the Formula E chassis, so there's an awful lot of editing that needs doing, which is not easy because you're taking something that has been kind of extremely finely tuned and designed and kind of fudging it to work with a completely different system.
Mark's printed this off on his powder machine. I'll now take these back, as I said, to sand these, get them all nice and finished. Once it's all clean, I'm going to cast this in silicon. I'll make a silicon mould of this and get a resin that's suitable for vac forming, so it deals with heat and pressure and doesn't deform. I suppose there's all various weird parts, funny shapes, like the wings and the wheel arches, getting them to work with the way that a remote control car works, and clearances for things that might not need clearances in a real world. But from stock, these wheels they're quite aggressive in their turning circle, and we found because the pivot's at the back, like a real car, the wheel swings, which means it was actually fouling on our wheel arches. So we've ground these out quite considerably to help us. I think next week is when it's kind of the fun part, when we start bringing it all together, whereas we've been just working on panels and sanding odds and sods.
With the Gen 2 car moulds complete, Ben now produces a number of vacuum-formed shells that will make the models both lightweight and strong.
So we clamp this into position, like that, to create an airtight seal. Now, this is a heating element, which will heat up our plastic so it's nice and soft and flexible. And then we bring the model up into it and start the vacuum. And that's our vacuum-formed shape for our car shell. This is just the top section. Obviously, we've got our sides to do separately. But yeah, we're getting there. Once we'd had our vac forms back, we just did a mock-up just to feel how it would all go together. And then the art director on the filming side came over and to show his director. And wanted to see it running in the car park, and then it was, because it was only a preliminary model, things weren't fixed properly, and it kind of got tested to destruction a little bit. We were briefed to make a remote control car. They want it to represent a real car. And we're always in that stage where, yeah, it's always going to look like a remote control car because it is. It's not a showcase model, it's a working remote control thing. And yeah, they're trying to pass it off as a real car.
No pressure
then. Yeah. Luckily, I'm not driving it, so.
With the shoot date looming, Ben is under ever-increasing pressure to deliver the 10 working models required for filming.
Yeah, next stage is to get everything built up. Then the wings and stuff will come off. They'll all be sprayed separately. The masking will be done. And then finally transfers and rub downs for the graphics, and it should all come together nicely.
I think when we see all the reaction when we present the car, and straight away this car was everywhere. And people were not expecting to have something such radical. I think it's if you look the car from the top of the car, if you look from the side, if you look from the front, from a different angle, there is only something different and something that you're not used to see.
I think we'll find when it's being filmed, I think we're going to come across other issues like things moving or vibrating. I dare say that's, well, I'm going on the shoot with my pot of glue to be on hand, just in case.
With the Gen 2 models almost complete, the next challenge will be to see how they perform under the pressure of a shoot on the streets of Zagreb, Croatia. With the shoot rapidly approaching and the models almost ready, Ben receives some last-minute designs which are much more complex than anticipated, putting even more pressure on his delivery deadline.
So we just had this through from the agency. So this is our colour scheme and our livery. It's quite a complicated masking job, I think. There's got some, on the livery, we've got some fine lines that follow contours of the side of the car and over the wings. So it's going to be quite a tricky process, just sitting down and again doing it 10 times. Because it's a TV shoot, we've had to make 10 shells. We're going to have, I think, 6 cars, because they're filming in 2, so there's always going to be 2 cars ready at any one time. So they can swap them over, and they're doing gimbals and stuff to mount the cars on. If anything gets broken, I'll be there with the super glue and screws and stuff to bash it back together. They've taken 2 cars out, which are actually going out this week to Belfast to meet the camera guys and the guys who are controlling it. They've got our initial mock-up, which is just plain grey, and one of the decent shells, and they're going to have a little play and get some cameras on it and see what it looks like.
In the instance of this job, the initial research from my perspective was to seek out people who would really enjoy the technical challenge of how we're trying to shoot this and how Rich's vision could be taken forward. So I did some research. I talked to people I knew in Britain. I talked to experts who deal with smaller cameras. I talked to people who deal with camera car shooting. And all roads led to Gary Greenberg in Belfast. They said, Gary's your man. He will know how to do this.
Because of what we're doing is so new in filming, I put together a team mixed between RC specialist racers who have no knowledge of the film industry at all, and also people within the film industry who also understand about RC racing.
In a normal situation, Gary provides the tech vehicles for my own shoots as a camera operator and a DP, but I also have an RC hobby, which has played really nicely into this sort of commercial.
We've developed with the guys from Northern Ireland these really special camera car rigs. They've spent 2 weeks in Northern Ireland actually doing rehearsals, really working out the choreography, really testing the gear. They've gone into this with more depth and more thoroughness than I can remember anybody working on things technically and creatively before.
I mean, basically what we're doing is we're having to mount a drone onto an RC tracking vehicle. So we've had to basically strip a drone down, get it built onto the RC car. And we have other cameras, Osmos, which work okay, but the problem is we have no video communications. We lose it in 10 feet, so the technology's not there now. Basically everything you see in the real world of chase scenes, Formula, whatever it is, that's how we're doing it. We're just doing it small, and basically that's it. So, let's fingers crossed.
Almost 1,500 miles from the test track in Belfast, the miniature Gen 2 cars take to the filming-friendly streets of Zagreb.
Every moment in the spot, they're doing something unique. I'm just excited to see fishtailing out of an alley and doing that in miniature, and then sort of amazing straightaways and cars just sort of jockeying for positions to sort of see the machines start to work together.
That's what's really exciting about this, because I've shot dozens of car commercials, but I haven't shot a car commercial, in a 12-inch vehicle, so it's kind of fun. It's a whole different set of challenges to figure out and think about.
It's exciting. Everybody's really, really looking forward to this because it feels like we're sort of breaking new ground here, and that's a really nice feeling.
There's a lot of different techniques you can do to try to cheat the idea of, is it a small car or does it feel big? Some of that has to do with scale and frame rate. Like you can play with shooting a smaller car much faster and at a high frame rate, and that gives it a sense of mass. So initially in the spot, there's an idea that you don't really sell the gag that it's a miniature car at the very beginning, and you're kind of shooting it like a car commercial, like it's a sexy vehicle, and you're photographing the sheet metal, and then at some point in the spot, you kind of pull the veil away and realize that it's this tiny little miniature and moving in amongst people's feet and driving under vehicles on the streets.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's exciting, to see it all coming together now. But it's just surprising the amount of people here. It's a big production.
Filming in a busy city comes with its own complications, with the film crew having to share the streets with the public in order to get the best shots possible.
How's it going? Oh, it's going well. Just waiting for the flood of tourists to leave our shot.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, move a little further. Thank you very much.
Both of you guys should kind of be kicking it out towards camera more, okay?
Put a little more dust down? Yeah.
Working on a live street, the crew have a very small window of opportunity to shoot the key scenes in between each traffic light change.
Ready to go?
No, next one we can go, yeah?
So we got to clear that tram and this tram?
We have moving model cars, moving camera car, tram traffic every minute, delivery vans. So we're working with spotters, police, location, first assistant director and his team.
Yeah, but from the other lane, there's the car in the middle who turns.
And now there's a tram.
From the other police should lock from the other way too.
Are we going to make this one or no?
Are we locked now?
No.
No, it's red already.
There's a lot of moving parts that all have to sync for very short spaces of time.
Okay, wait for the tram. Roll camera.
Speed, yeah, get ready.
Wait for the other tram.
And go, guys.
Great.
And then start bringing them back, guys.
They're coming. Oh, here comes traffic. Don't go.
Hang on, there's traffic.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it went very well. Really happy with that. It was quite difficult because of our, the tram situation. So waiting on the trams. Let's move on to the bird scene now. Never work with animals or children.
So I'm trying to get as close to the lamppost as possible without damaging a shell unnecessarily. Very difficult. And there's trams going by at the side of the road at the same time.
Brilliant.
What's happened to your baby?
Little frontal impact. It can be fixed and will be fixed.
They've been brilliant. I mean, yesterday showed how accurate they could be. on those roads are really, really difficult with all the trams coming. There's only a few inches either side tram tracking vehicle. So I think it was good. It was a good start to do yesterday because then they got a feel for, you know, how it's all coming together, and they actually and the director can now see how good the guys can be. The guys are going to have to be really accurate. They only have this much space to get the cars through, a little bit of space underneath. I mean, there's no room for error at all. It'll just take the camera off. But they're going to step up their game today if we get underneath those cars. We're going to need some more cameras. That's going to be a problem. And we know it's yours.
So this shot's very tricky because we've no line of sight. The operators are having to lie on the ground so that we can see roughly what direction we're going in, but at the minute we're trying to go in between parked vehicles and then underneath the DHL van, cut out to the side, and then continue towards the construction site, and it's completely blind.
He went under the car. Let's cut it. Everyone's seen race films, everyone's seen car chases and all this stuff, and they're all very fun. But I think the thing that this adds is that sort of macro scale. So I'm hoping that people see this, you know, within the first few shots of the edit, they'll start to realize that this is something different. It's fun and exciting and just fresh. So I'm hoping that we can kind of build some of that up and get people excited in a sort of childlike way, but still having it feel, you know, badass.
Never one to rest, Formula E are already looking forward to the next generation.
I think the look of the Generation 2, it's a transition probably to even something more advanced in Generation 3. And when I speak of what we want out of Generation 3 in terms of technology, we want something that can be then used in the production line, in the road cars. And I think that's going to be ultra fast charging. So we go to an even smaller battery and we do pit stops, maybe a couple of pit stops that last 1 minute, and in that minute you can put 20 or 30% of energy back into the battery, and then you continue racing. And that's the technology, the ultra-fast charging, that can be really useful for road cars. We always had a purpose behind Formula E, and the mission is to promote electric cars. You want to promote electric cars to have cleaner cities, cleaner air, less CO2 emissions, help in a big or a small way, but help fight climate change, global warming. I think that sense of purpose of the championship has been what has given Formula E the position we are in today. Future generations will see the Gen 2 car as a huge step forward.
We see already that in few design that we see for other categories that they start to go in the direction that we are. So we always say that we are working for the future and so on. And this is the design and everything is really futuristic.
What I would like eventually is like the cities are completely 100% electric. That would make our cities fantastic. They will be clean and they will be quiet. I think Formula E, the only way is up. Everything is still ahead of us, so we are just starting.